All right, let's talk about something we think we understand completely, time. But what if our most basic gut feeling about it is just wrong? Today, we're going to explore a totally different, but way more powerful way of thinking about the universe. Not as a river we're all floating down, but as a kind of universal ledger.
So, let me start by asking you a question. It sounds simple, but trust me, it'll tie your brain in a knot. If time flows like a river, what's it flowing into? What's it flowing through? And hey, how fast is it flowing? At 1 second per second? See? The moment you really think about it, you can feel our everyday picture of reality starting to crack.
For basically all of history, we've used this metaphor of the river of time. It just feels right, doesn't it? The past is upstream, the future is downstream, and we're just floating along. But as we just found out, when you start pushing on that metaphor, it springs some serious logical leaks.
You know, the funny thing is, our own language kind of traps us. We use words like passing or flowing, and that tricks our brains into thinking of time as some kind of substance, an invisible current that everything happens in. But this just leads to what philosophers call pseudo-questions, puzzles that only exist because our starting idea was flawed to begin with.
Okay, so if the river metaphor is busted, what do we replace it with? Well, this is where the main idea for this whole explainer comes in. Thinking of the universe as a ledger. And this isn't just swapping one word for another. It's a fundamental shift in how we see reality itself.
So here it is, side by side. The old way of thinking, the stage view, sees time as some external container, a stage where the drama of the universe plays out. But the new ledger view is so much cleaner. It says, hey, there is no stage. Time isn't the container for change. Time is the record of change. It's like the universe's own accounting system.
Now, to really get the ledger view, we need one new key term, and that word is tempo. Simply put, everything that changes, from a tiny atom vibrating in a clock to your own heart beating in your chest right now, has its own local rate of change. That rate is its tempo. That's the real measurable thing.
And here's the absolute kicker. When we say we're measuring time, we're not measuring some invisible flow. We're just comparing tempos. That's it. We just pick one process we think is steady, like the vibration in a quartz watch. We count its ticks, and then we compare that count to something else happening, like a person running a race. We are always just comparing one change to another change.
Right about now, you might be thinking, whoa, hold on. What about Einstein? What about relativity? Does this break all of modern physics? And the answer is a big, emphatic no. This view doesn't contradict physics at all. It keeps every single prediction that works, but it reframes it. It lets us understand all that amazing science without having to imagine a physical, bendable fourth dimension of time.
This new language lets us do a kind of direct translation of these huge concepts in physics. So what we used to call time dilation, well, that's just a rate shift. Two clocks in different situations ticking at different tempos. What we call gravity, that's an uneven tempo field, a pattern where things just happen at different rates in different places. And curved spacetime, that's just a really smart, compact way of drawing a map of all these different rhythms.
Now, I know this can sound a bit abstract and philosophical, but it is absolutely not. In fact, the proof is in a piece of technology that billions of us use every single day, GPS. The whole system is literally built on this idea.
Get this. Because GPS satellites are way up high and moving super fast, the atomic clocks on board literally have a different tempo. They tick faster than the clocks down here on the ground. The difference is tiny, just 38 millionths of a second every day. But if the system didn't account for that difference in tempo, your GPS location would be off by miles in just a few hours. So, to make your phone know where you are, the engineers aren't correcting for time bending in space. No. They are constantly correcting for a predictable, measurable difference in the rates of different clocks. The GPS network is a giant, real-world ledger, constantly reconciling different counts from different places. It's the ledger view in action. And what's so cool is that this idea of uneven tempos isn't just for physics and satellites. Once you start looking for this pattern, you start to see it absolutely everywhere, in all sorts of complex systems. I mean, think about biology. An animal's metabolism creates a kind of tempo field for its body. Or technology. The internet is just a landscape of different data speeds and delays. Even human society has these rhythms, where slow-changing things like laws and institutions create a stable backdrop for our fast-paced daily lives.
So why does all this matter? Why go to the trouble of changing this core metaphor? Well, because it cleans everything up. It gives us a much clearer picture of what's actually real and what's just a weird feature of our old, clunky description of the universe.
So let's just break it down. First, we keep all the predictive power of modern physics. We don't lose any of the math that works. Second, we get to drop this confusing, mystical idea of a time substance that nobody has ever seen or measured. And finally, what we gain is huge, a much clearer, more direct picture of the universe as this beautiful, complex web of things happening, all with their own unique rhythms.
And when we adopt this view, those old, nagging puzzles just evaporate. That question we started with, where does time flow, now has a beautifully simple answer. Nowhere. There is no flow. There are just things changing and records of those changes being updated. That's it.
And this right here is the most profound takeaway. The universe isn't a collection of things sitting on a stage called space-time. The universe is the performance. It is the lawful, rhythmic, incredible pattern of change itself. There's no background. There's only the dynamic web of relationships. So, what does this mean for us? For our lives and our choices? Well, this final thought connects this huge cosmic picture right back to our own sense of agency. In a world made of lawful rhythms and relationships, our choices aren't outside of physics. Agency is just our ability to skillfully navigate this web, to steer our own path within these lawful patterns. It's a way of seeing ourselves not as puppets of fate, but as active participants in the cosmic rhythm.